What is up, English 10 students? Mr. Puckett coming at you to talk about today's unit, today's lesson that we're starting on our analysis unit. You should be, well, you are here on our document. As I mentioned in the other video, this document's going to have everything we do this week on it. So it's your one-stop shop for English 10. A couple things. We're going to be talking about analysis. We're going to talk about what analysis is. We're going to be practicing other things related to analysis. This button right here is on every single slide. It takes you back to our live button where you can get a hold of Mr. Puckett during class hours. If it's not class hours, please email me with your questions and I'm happy to help you out. But let's get started. So we're going to be doing slides 1 through 22. The instructional video, you've already started it, so good job. You followed that instruction. We're going to do work on, we're accessing slides 1 through 22. That's a scary amount of number. But the only slides you're doing work on are 16, 19, and 20. And the last thing we're going to do is we're going to show you how to submit this to Canvas so that you don't have to keep submitting it every day. I'm going to turn it in a special way. Most of us have done it before, but I'll show you. Or actually, the video will show you. So first, we're going to do analysis. We're going to understand what it is. So analysis is the detailed examination of something in order to better understand its parts and how it functions in a whole. It's looking at something closely to understand it. For example, if I wanted to analyze a problem with my car's engine, I would examine the parts and think about how they affect the car, the whole. Or at least I would if I was a person who knew how cars worked. When you analyze a text, you need to examine the parts or the details that are written in the text, and you have to think about how those parts affect the whole text, right? Why is this word here? Why did they do this thing with the writing? Well, first thing we're going to talk about is how we slow down, not jump to conclusions, all right? So analysis is objective. Objective means that it's not a personal reaction. It's not an opinion, right? It's not based on how you feel or the opinions that you have. It is based on facts. It's about the things that you observe and see. Often our first responses to things are emotional reactions. That's not objective. That's not analysis. We have to slow down and avoid judging or jumping to conclusions. We also have to pay attention. So analysis depends on paying attention to the parts or the details. Take the time to look closely at what you're studying and ask yourself, what do I actually see here? So we're going to practice slowing down and paying attention to details. I'm going to model this by looking at this image that I'm going to put up here next and putting down my observations. So here's the actual image. I'm going to study it and look at it, but I'm going to pause it while I actually do this so that, you don't have to sit and watch me type and study. Okay, so I wrote down the things that I noticed about this painting. By the way, this painting is called Whistler's Mother, and it's a relatively famous painting. So I see a woman. She's wearing a black dress. She's sitting on a chair. She's wearing a white head covering. Her feet are propped up. She's facing away from us. I only see half of her. There's a picture in the background. There's a dark gray wall. There's a dark gray curtain. The woman has gray hair and her hands are folded in her lap. Just some of the observations that I had. Okay. Notice what I did not write. Okay. I didn't write vague statements, right? It's a person. So I put down, woman. Like I put a specific. I didn't make judgment or evaluation statements, right? I didn't say she's old. I put she has gray hair because some people get gray hair when they're younger. Obviously, she's not younger, but we can talk more about that later. If you find yourself being vague or judgmental, ask yourself, okay, why am I being judgmental, right? Like if I say she's old, what makes me think she's old? Well, she has gray hair. You can kind of see some wrinkles there. Those are two details you can write down, but don't write the opinion statement of she's old or the judgment statement of she's old. Write the details that led you there. And if you're being vague, or think about what details you can put in there, right? Oh, it's a person. Okay. More specific. It's a woman. All right. Now we're going to have you try it. Or you try it together. We'll all try it together. You're going to take 5 minutes on this next slide. So you can go ahead and head to this slide, write down details about this painting, type your answers on the next slide. So take about 5 minutes and then we'll get together and talk about what you may or may not have written. Okay, so let's talk about some things that we should avoid when we write these. And you probably have your list of things that you wrote. You put it on this page right here. Let's go ahead and talk about some things we should avoid, right? Avoid, and if you put these things, you don't have to go back and delete them, but I want you to note them, okay? I want you to notice that you did this. Avoid judgmental words like friendly, lonely, happy, or scary. Vague words like building, store, or some people. There are more specific things we can say, right? Instead of saying building, right, or store, well, that's a diner, right? It's a cafe, it's a food shop. That's a weird way of saying that. Um, don't stop after just a few details. Get as many as you can. Don't be like, okay, that's enough. It's been 2.5 minutes. No. Part of a free write is about building up a writing stamina, but it's also about looking closely and going beyond what you would normally examine. Okay, so when you're at 2 to 3 minutes and you feel like you've written everything, push yourself, go further, write down more things that you can, right? Some good answers that could have shown up, some good, check your answers and see if any of these show up on there. A diner, 4 people inside the diner, right? Notice that the number of people is a good detail. 1 woman, 3 men. 1 man is a worker. 2 coffee urns. I don't know what an urn is. Miss Keller wrote that one. And if you know what a coffee urn is, let's go and look. These things that make coffee. I bet that's an urn. Anyways, context clues. There are at least 6 empty stools. Notice this is a little detail you probably maybe didn't write down, but if you forced yourself to really look for extra details, that's something you would have come up with, right? There are no people outside the diner. There's an empty sidewalk on the street and street, empty dark windows, empty dark storefront. Large glass diner windows, and the diner has light colored walls, is well lit, and there are no pictures on the wall. Okay, now we're going to have you work on this. Again, this is just the first step to analysis. What you're doing right now is not analysis, but it is the building block to analysis. We are noticing and focusing. So we're practicing. All right, so on your own, you're going to take 5 minutes to write down details you see on the picture on the next page. The timer should automatically start and keep going until the time is up. Even if you think of new details, right, like let it keep going all the way. Even if you're struggling to come up with new details, let the timer really go. Often our best ideas come at the last minute or after we've exhausted all the obvious details or the low-hanging fruit, the easy ones. All right, you'll click on this to start the timer. Make sure it goes all the way. Your answers go right here.